Hello. Is it a failure if you don't finish something you started? This is a question I was asking myself recently. And there was a guy, Gamer. He's a physician, he's a clinician, actually, a psychiatrist or something of that nature. And he was talking about how we shouldn't use failure as a means to adjust ourselves or adapt. And he talked about his career in medicine and how when you go for an MRI or some test, sometimes the test could come back with extra things that weren't being looked for, and then you have to do extra work to look into it further and do biopsies. And how it just, he didn't say it, but opened a can of worms. And then he talked about how he had a patient and the patient was getting worse, but it didn't appear that way to him at the time because it was right in front of him. And then he said, then the next shift came on and they said, oh, we should take this patient directly to ICU because they're in sepsis and they could need a whole sepsis protocol. And during his shift, they were a little bit more like lax about it. And then he says sometimes things happen and it's not always your fault. It's just like the environment, the situation. It could be someone else's fault. It's not always your fault. And he says sometimes you shouldn't learn from your failures, but learn from your mistakes. And sometimes the failure isn't not always on your part. And then he brought up the concept of dating and how people, they think if a relationship didn't work out because the person cheated, that it's their fault or that they should have been more vigilant. So then they start to become hyper vigilant with the next person and they'll want to check their emails and check their phone and check who they're talking to and not let them have friends with and have friends of the opposite sex. And they're always checking everything because they're like, I won't let this happen again. I'm not going to let that happen again because that was a failure. But that wasn't always your failure. And sometimes failures are not always your failures. It's just a part of the system. And it's ironic that he was talking about this today because I was thinking about this in terms of a situation where I was trying a lot of different technology systems for business, and in the time I was still in the learning process, so I was learning as I was trying things. And so of course when you're learning and trying at the same time, you're going to have some sunk costs. You're going to be buying into things and then they don't work out and then you move to the next thing. It's dating. You're dating technology, you're dating platforms, see which one works the best for your company, what works the best for your business. And so you're trying different things. So I tried ClickFunnels, I tried, what's the other one, Thinkific, I tried Teachable. Like those were the three major ones. And then came High Levels, like the top one right now. And then before that I was trying CRMs and people talked about different CRMs to use. And I was also trying different social media platforms, schedulers. I tried Buffer. And then I found Canva has a scheduler, which is included. So I like doing Canva. And then people talked about Sprout and all these different other ones later. And there's another one, I forget the name. But there's so many different platforms to try. And so I thought because I was trying so many different things, it was a failure on my part because I wasn't getting any traction with any of them. And I felt I'm not doing a good job here if I'm trying everything and nothing's working for me. But really, when you think about it, at the time I was still learning, so I was just listening to everyone. I wanted to hear what everyone had to say about every platform, what was the newest and the best and what was the greatest. So I jumped from email platforms, from MailChimp to ConvertKit to ActiveCampaign. Like I was jumping from the next one to the next one. Then someone talked about, what's the other one? It was called, I'm trying to think what it was called. It was a popular one and I even joined that one and it was very expensive. And it was just like, okay, which one am I going to use? But I ended up just sticking with ActiveCampaign after a while. I learned Canva, I learned ConvertKit, and I actually got good at ConvertKit. I learned MailChimp and I got good at posting in MailChimp, doing emails in MailChimp. And then I went to ConvertKit and I got a little stumble with that one because I couldn't figure out some things, and then I figured it out. But it wasn't getting much traction in terms of getting people to sign up for lead magnets and things like that. So I thought, oh, I must be a failure. And then when you keep having failures, it feels maybe this is just not the right thing for me. But then when he talked about today, the guy that I was listening to, when he talked about you can't always adjust yourself based on the failure, because it could just be something else. And then he brought up dating and how you can't get too hyper vigilant just because the last person was a cheater, and you can't be like not trusting everybody now because you think, oh, it's gonna happen again and I gotta be on my P's and Q's. You can't be like that. And I could do that too. Like I say, I'm not gonna buy another program, I'm not gonna buy another platform, I'm just gonna stop buying things. And you can't be that way, because then that's really hyper vigilant, and then you'll never try anything, and you'll sabotage yourself. And he talks about sabotaging your future because you're so focused on the failures that you had, and you think, oh, I can't do this. And then he brought up a good point about how you could have a parent who is maybe has some sort of mental issue, and you think, oh, I need to please my mom because my mom doesn't love me, and so I'm going to do everything for her, cook for her, clean for her, make sure she's happy. And then you become this overly codependent person, like you're like catering to possibly a narcissist. So it's like you can't change yourself all the time just because something is not working out in a situation. And what I figured out is it could be the environment, it could be just a system that's way bigger than you. There's a system of racism, there's a system of discrimination sometimes that's invisible. There's like invisible, what do you call it, invisible, what's the word, biases, right? There's invisible biases that people have, you don't even realize. And so you think, oh, it's me, but it's not you. It's actually the bias that's in the background, like it's in the system and it's embedded in it. Or like you think you're the problem in a system, in the healthcare system, where really the system is so big and convoluted and there's such a conglomerate of different things going on. It's not really you, it's like the system. So you can't blame yourself. And so when he talks about when you experience failure, is it really a failure on your part, or just do you need to change yourself? No, you don't always need to change yourself because something didn't work out. Is that you just keep moving. And a thought that I think about when things don't work out is, okay, are you going to get back on the horse and try again? Keep going, keep moving, keep going forward. So like for me, working through all the different business platforms that I tried, thinking one of them was going to be my ticket to success, but really what I should have done, I realized that a lot of it was noise. Like I was hearing a lot of different people say, try this system, try that system, try this platform, try that platform. And I was just jumping on everything they were saying instead of just sticking to one. And I wanted to stick to one, but I just felt like FOMO, I guess it was, like, oh, maybe I'm missing out on something if I don't join this new platform. Like sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on the platform Go High Level, because everyone's, oh, you need an all-in-one platform instead of multiple. And I do have multiple. I have a CRM that's separate from my course platform, but the CRM can include SMS and email and all the things, but it's just the way I choose to do it. And whatever works for you works for you. It's not making you a failure if you don't do what everyone else says you should do. I think that's another piece too. Like we think we're a failure because we're not doing what everyone else says you should do, but sometimes what they say is not what you should do. Simple. And so like for the women in the show, they thought they should be married by 30, so they thought they were failing, but really maybe it just wasn't their time at that point. And then later it is their time, but they still kept trying. They still kept putting themselves, I guess, in situations. I don't know. Things just happen to happen all of a sudden. So is failure your fault? No. But you could learn from, like he said in the streaming that I was talking about, the guy that was talking about medical and how certain times, like, you open a can of worms if you try to fix things that don't need to be fixed, because it's not you, it's the system. And so he was saying how we all have differences, and so if you go looking for a problem, you're going to find one. But if you just accept things as they are and just keep moving, you get through it. So that's the end of the story for that, in terms of what is failure. Is failure the end of the story? No, it's not the end of the story. It's just a stepping stone to your later success. And depending on how much you keep trying and keep getting back on the horse and not giving up. And yeah, that's all I want to talk about.